And when you look back on yourself, for me, when I look back a year ago, I'm gonna be like, damn, who is that guy? Like, I want to be able to like cringe at my old self because I've grown so much in general growth, not just financially or just in relationships, but overall as a person.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Creative Businessmen. This is part 2 of the Tanner Plains episode. Just to recap, Tanner is a 21-year-old entrepreneur. He's had a lot of success at a young age. His entrepreneurial journey started at 13 years old. And if you haven't watched the first episode or the first part of this episode, be sure to go back and watch that. We learned a lot about Tanner's experience and his entrepreneurial journey. And if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business, you should definitely not miss this one. You will learn something. And it was a lot of fun having Tanner in the studio with us. He's a great dude, really good guy, and extraordinarily intelligent. So hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate the support. And here you go.
Let's talk about the how you guys originally met when you were 16 years old. How did that come about? Because we got I put that plaque over there. That's a plaque that you. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you guys meeting and how that all worked out.
Yeah. Do you know how we met or no?
I've heard the beginning of the story a few times. Forever ago.
I left out the part with the 71-year-old with the 2,500 moose. I left that out.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, we'll leave that part out now. But it's kind of a very random situation. But I believe it was by fate. So this space we're in, the entire space, this place was basically empty, like all this warehouse space. And there was a guy who would clean my cars, and like a detailer, and him and another guy had rented this space to for whatever they were doing, they're detailing their business. And I came over for an event one time. I was like, this is sick. Like, I love a warehouse. Like, I want to just fill this up with my own cars and make this, like, just a badass space. And it got to a point where I was just paying him a little bit of money to, like, come here and work. Like, I set up a plastic desk out there, an office chair. I filmed videos in there, so many videos on my YouTube channel, and brought cars in here and just had a lot of fun. And there was some days I'd be in here just sitting around, like, in my plastic desk out there. And I'd see these guys just, like, walking around, like, randomly, like, looking at stuff. Like, go look at the wall, and I'm like, who are these guys? Like, I never really asked, like, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. And I don't know, and one time I think, like, it was always, like, Daniel and Neil, like, ending up now, it was Daniel, Neil, and another guy. And one time I think Daniel came up to me, just maybe introduced himself. We just had a quick conversation, and I was, like, kind of showing him what I was doing. And we just kind of chatted up, and then, I'd see him around here and there. And I don't know, it's very random.
It was, yeah.
Well, entrepreneurs we're always interested in each other anyway.
Yeah, but you're like,
yeah.
It was just, I think we kind of clicked on just the side of opposite. You're like, I was showing you what I was doing digitally. You're like, damn, I'm on the opposite side. How can there be some kind of mix here?
100%.
I remember Daniel telling me about some of the stuff you were working on. It was really impressive.
Yeah.
And then
I was impressed with you at 16.
You recognized pretty early.
Oh, no. I can talk to people. I don't care if you're, it's not because it's my son. My 11-year-old is impressive, right? And I don't mean that he's impressive because he's my son. I'm saying from a business acumen and from the types of the way he's thinking about his thought processes are different than people twice his age.
Yeah.
Him at 16, same thing. Like when I met him, I'm like, oh shit, man, this guy's. I knew. I didn't have to have everybody else tell me. I knew. I was like, man, this guy's gonna be wealthy as fuck. Excuse my French, but that was my initial reaction. Like I knew it.
Just on another level.
100% a different level. Just the thought processes, the method. I could see him when he was speaking to me in real time. I could see his thought process and how he went about problem solving and what he's just the. Like, it wasn't like it was a half-assed attempt either. Like, what he was doing. Yeah, he had a plastic desk. But, again, this is a problem solver. He didn't need a $5,000 desk to get the job done.
Yeah.
But if you look at him, he was coordinating a space. The gentleman that had the space that because I owned the building, was a tenant. It was a tenant. And so, essentially, if we want to be technical, he was subleasing a space at 16 years old from another business person. And this is not meant as a stab at anybody, but him at 16 could have ran the other business better than the other people, right?
Sure.
And I don't mean that as an offensive way.
No, I mean when you recognize things early, especially in your field. I meet comedians every now and again when they're young, and I can see them instantly. I
100%.
know who's going to be good and who's not.
So,
they stand up.
He was coordinating that. He was flying people in to do events. He was right. I mean,
was this in his lease agreement?
yeah. I mean, like this. I mean, he was literally. running a business and coordinating other people's schedules and time and within somebody else's business. I mean, literally, like, and then not to mention the products and the things that he was working on, but like if you look at the complexity, I got people that sometimes can't figure out how to get out of bed, right? To not because they're depressed, but because they're lazy. Right? They can't figure out how to put one foot in front of the other, and this guy's solving big problems. So I mean, at 16, I knew within, and then the passion, that part can't be taught, right? The passion that came from him in just those few moments, I was instantly drawn to him. I'm like, yeah. So I remember talking to Neil about it. I was like, man, this kid's gonna do something. Everybody I meet, I'm like, Tanner's gonna be wealthy as hell. It's not a matter of if, it's just when.
What Daniel's saying is he leased to the wrong tenant.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, that's essentially, that's definitely how we met. And then it was very organic and very random. And then, we started hanging out and,
become a bit of a mentor pretty early on, or?
Yeah, I would say like at first it was very random. I'd see people around, then you meet someone, you're more comfortable, like, what's up, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would say like probably the first 2 years, not like we weren't necessarily, like we didn't see it. I had moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
We saw each other here and there and checked in, just kind of like friends. But
yeah,
I'd say over the last 2 years, where we've really like spent a lot more time, here in the office when I'm here and hanging out, having fun, doing whatever.
Yeah, he's family now for me. Like my kids, he came and saw my kids yesterday. So,
and it's funny because my wife is friends with his mom.
Yeah,
and some of their friend groups hang out together.
Yeah, there's mutual friends.
Yeah, and it's it was about the same time that. You kind of came on the radars whenever, I figured out, my wife's actually friends with his mom.
Yeah.
But then, it's also in the entrepreneurial world, age is not really a factor. Like it's like you can have friends that are entrepreneurs of all ages. Like we have friends that are in their 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And then Tanner, who's just barely a human.
I don't know. Like
he hasn't been here that long.
I guess like in some ways, Daniel definitely is a mentor and he gives good advice on certain things, because I don't have as much experience, but also at the same time, when I'm with you guys and when I'm hanging out with Daniel, like I can look at him and see him as just like, we're the same age, we're the same person. Like he doesn't live like he's like, I don't even know how old you are, like 30 something.
Yeah.
Like, you just live how you are, not by a certain belief that you have to live by when you're a certain age.
Well, that's something that you've talked about before too, and maybe this is how the relationship was formed, is successful people don't have a problem sharing ideas and exchanging, right?
We like to.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's something that I agree with that. And I think too, like, I think successful people, there's some things that separate them amongst themselves. Like what I find important, Neil may not find important, right? Like, and to take out farther outside of that, like I live my life how I want to live my life. I wear the clothes I want to wear. Like I don't give a shit. Like I don't care, right? I don't care if you think I'm worth $10 or $100 million. It's irrelevant to me. Like and I live a very different life, and I think you caught on that early on. And I trust him. Like I do. He's around my kids. He's been around my wife. Like literally, to me, he's family. So my house, his house. He stays over. He's welcome to my place when I'm there. But it's not just me. There are other people that are around me that trust him to the same degree, right? I've got another partner. Like he's welcome to their home, like, whether they're there or not, right? Like. It's just there's something about him that people like us pick up on really quickly and is genuine, right? Whereas sometimes we get in a situation where people are very
disloyal or
maybe they're predatory or
looking for an end.
Yeah, man. Like I don't. He doesn't. This dude does nothing but bring value to my life. If he wants something, if anything is mine, if he wants it, he's welcome to use it. Right?
Good motives.
Yeah, he's got great motives. Like he's every car I have, he's welcome to it. Like I don't. There's not. He's not. I don't get a feeling that's the dude's a genuine guy.
Yeah, he doesn't need anything from you.
He doesn't need anything. We have a lot of fun together. We've done a lot of crazy shit together. I have a blast. We've made a lot of money together too, so that's fun. A little bit.
There's one thing I wanted you to talk about on the show today is. Because not many people get to experience your experience or success at such a young age. I mean, you've accomplished more. How old are you now?
21. Just turned 21
in January.
So you accomplished more by 21 than most people will accomplish in a lifetime or lifetimes. So, at 16, you're probably making six figures. What is that? What was that like mentally? Like, what kind of challenges did that present to you? with your personal life, your relationships, how to stay humble, how to deal with that responsibility. Because a lot of people, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur until you become one and you start doing well, and then it's a lot of responsibility. It's
well, it's something I even said to Eric earlier, where I always knew that like success was going to happen for me one way or the other. You know, going to school, it wasn't my thing. I wasn't focused on it. I knew I had other intentions that were going to take me to, you know, where I wanted to go. And everything happens so quick. And when everything happens, you know, so fast, a lot can go wrong because you don't have the right people around you or whatever. You know, I didn't have anybody managing my finances. I didn't have, you know, I had an accountant to do my taxes. I didn't have, my parents had access to my accounts when I was underage, but they weren't saying, hey, do this, do that. It was all on me. And the stuff's so new and exciting at first, but then once you start to do it, you realize, okay, now I need to beat myself year over year. And at first, it was a very, I mean, it's good to go through at an early age. Going through, like, made money, bought a Porsche, started spending money, traveling. But I think a good lesson I had 2 years ago was, and when you look back on yourself, you know, for me, when I look back a year ago, I'd be like, damn, who is that guy? Like, you know, like I want to be able to like cringe at my old self because I've grown so much and become more mature, and you know, it doesn't even need to be, you know, in just, you know, in general growth, not just financially or just in relationships, but overall as a person. And I definitely am that way when I look back at myself when I first started touching some money in 2018. I'm like, damn, that guy's like, when you met me, I look back and I'm like, damn, that kid's a douchebag. Like I would be respectful to older people, but like I'll run into like old conversations on like social media or text. I'm like, damn, I was such a dick to this guy. But like, I don't know. There's a way of just being yourself, and
see, I never thought of you that way because
I didn't either. Yeah.
I think the people that you were that way to. Now, listen, man, if you'd have met me,
the age is a big.
I promise you, if you'd have met me at 16, I was very entrepreneurial, but you hadn't seen douchebag. I promise you. Like I was much more that than I think you're even capable of. That being said, I think that's part of that process, right? I think that's part of you becoming one. You're surrounded by other people that you're different from, right? And you're interacting with all these people, like whether through a customer, through school, through whatever relationship. And 99% of the world's not like you. So how do you communicate with them? And it's frustrating for you. It's frustrating for me. I know it's frustrating for you. Yeah. So how do you communicate with them? So you come off like an asshole or a douchebag, right? And some of it is you're an asshole or douchebag, and some of it is there's no way for you to communicate with them, right? And so what you're really learning as you age is you're learning how to communicate your message, which is very complex, in a way that other people can understand it or perceive it and be okay. And you've sugarcoated it in a way that they don't get offended, right? That's You're the same guy. You've just gotten better at delivering that message, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. I've been very emotional in the past with responses that have stirred up drama and such.
Yeah, you were 16 too. 17.
Yeah, I don't regret it. I wouldn't change it because I've learned from it. But most of it stems, it's not from talking to people like you guys or positive people or just like saying what's up. It's typically the people like, there's lots of experiences that I've had like, just living out here. Because when I bought the car, I was still going to school, driving this car to school, and just driving around town here. It's not like that Porsche's not a crazy car, but it still stands out in a way. And you see me at 16 getting out my big old baby face and my school book bag out of the front trunk. Like, who is this kid think he is? And I remember at one time, like, hanging out with some friends we had in Kernersville at a cookout, and I go there, I back in my car, I park there, and like I usually park away from cars. I'm just kind of outside talking with some friends. And this lady, out of all the spots in the parking lot, of course, someone always wants to park right next to you. So this lady parks right next to me. She gets out, older lady, and she looks at me, and she said something like I wasn't even like talking to her, just talking to my friends. She comes over into our conversation, says something like, "Oh, your daddy must really love you, huh? He got you that nice car." And it's that kind of thing where it's fun to have. It's fun to like deal with those people. And I'm blessed that I was raised to be like very respectful, and I'm very calm as a person. But like there's a lot of interactions like
Did you have any interactions with your teachers about stuff like that? Like teachers that were maybe a little jealous or a little animosity?
How was it learning how to do business in high school?
Actually, I was in business class. I took business class. So for my high school experience, I grew up in a private school all the way up through 8th grade, a private Christian school. in 9th grade, I went from a private Christian school to one of the worst public high schools around here, freshman year of high school. And that was a big transition. And that time I wasn't really into much business stuff. And sophomore year, we moved from High Point to Kernersville, and I was at this charter school because it was really close to the house. And then so I went there sophomore year, and then junior and senior year I did online school. But in that sophomore year, I had a ton of fun, and I had a business class. And a lot of my teachers were really cool. I didn't like say a bunch about what I did, but when I did start my YouTube channel and stuff, it got a little more like more pressuring on me because I'd come into class and there's kids, whether they had ill intentions or not, like, you know, they're like mocking, like, oh, like that I'm making a YouTube video.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, it's Tanner's video. I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even tell, like I don't go into school saying, hey, go watch my new YouTube video. Like I just do my thing. I don't say anything.
Right.
But I come into school tired. I'm sleeping in class, and business class was. Luckily, the teacher was cool. I think she got fired. I'm not sure why after I left, but she was fine with it, and most of the teachers were very respectful. I'm grateful for. Yeah. And I had like my gym teacher was super cool. Where that was my last class of the day. I don't want to out him, but like sometimes I would I would just leave school, and like I actually ended up because he was doing personal training on the side while he's a gym teacher. He was starting his own business. I was like, damn, that's cool. Yeah. I ended up becoming one of his clients, like doing personal training. I stopped. I was like, damn, dude, you're charging too much, really. Like, I didn't know how expensive personal training was. I was like, I like working out myself. And now he does that full time. Like a year later, he quit that.
That's good.
Did you give him any business advice?
I don't know, but he beat my ass in gym class, dude. He was like military. He's a cool guy, but
that's awesome. So I have the record, to my knowledge, for the longest number of successfully skipped days in Asheboro High School history. Right? I found out that you could go check into the library. So I would show up to school, and they had like this I don't know if it's called first period or whatever, but you had to be in, right? They did like a roll call, and that was submitted, right?
Yeah, homeroom, yeah.
And then like at a certain point during the day, I think it was like 11:45, but whatever the time was, right? They did a second one, right? So what I would do is I would go to the library. I would be in school at that. If it was 9:45, I'd be there for that, and then I'd leave. And on my way out, I go in the library and I'd check into the library to sign in. And so when the library turned in their sheet every day at 11:45, it just showed me signed into the library, so they counted me present. And I got away with it for a long time.
Man,
it worked well, man. A problem solver, right? I hated school. Like, I mean, like, it was the worst. Yeah. I mean, like, it was such a waste of time. It was such a waste of time for me.
It's interesting the people that you meet that school.
They take 8 hours to teach you what I can learn. And honestly, with the exception of a few quality teachers, that more so what I got from them was less about them teaching me things and more about quality life advice. Like, Miss Carroll was big. She didn't let me be me, and didn't take my shit either. I liked her a lot. Yeah. Like there were certain ones like her, Miss Baxter in 6th grade. Another one like that. Like I love the hard ass teachers that most people like that other people didn't like. I loved them because I could be me and be the real me, and they accepted it, and they weren't afraid to give me some shit back.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn much, man. I hated fucking school.
Well, it goes to what you said too about when you met Tanner. It's sometimes adults just recognize certain situations with kids.
All these things pop into my head when you're telling these stories. Like, I think a turning point for me was in 4th grade in elementary school. I got in school suspension for something, and I remember they put me in a hallway. This isn't a time where I had a phone or that was like a big thing. And I'm put in this hallway by myself, isolated, and someone comes at the beginning of the day, say, all right, you have to stay here all day, and they're like, here's your work for the day, and I'm like, okay. And I remember just getting it done in like an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, I spent all this time, like I would have to be here all day doing this, and then I don't know what else I ended up doing the rest of that day. But
probably used your time wisely.
Yeah, it showed me like I could just get this stuff done. It's easy. I don't need to wait for you to talk to me for an hour and then give me a worksheet. And
the amount of times I went into English class and had to do a book report that I had read the book 4 years earlier because I just wanted to.
Yeah.
It used to make me crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, read this book. It's like, I'm 4 years ahead of you stupids.
Yeah.
It never made sense to me.
To me, going to class was like, today would be like going through a restaurant, a drive-through at a restaurant that's that's as busy as Chick-fil-A but not as efficient as Chick-fil-A, right? So you see what I'm saying? Like the line's out to the road, right? And you're going to be in that line. It's kind of like a Taco Bell right now, right? There could be 3 people in line. You're going to wait 30 minutes, right? So that's what going to class was like. Like I go into class knowing that I'm going to sit in line and wait my turn to present or to do whatever, and I'm going to count every fucking tick on that clock until class is over. And then maybe I get called on, or maybe I've got to step up and say something. And in that moment, I'm going to shine. I'm going to get my thing done, and then I'm out. That was what my days felt like. Every single class, every single thing. And so I just figured out ways not to be there.
School should be more centered around what you're good at.
Yeah, and I think they've made some attempts. There's the Montessori. There's some Montessori stuff. There's whatever. But my kids, I mean, we homeschool, and my kids get their work done in, honestly, man, I bet you 2 hours a day.
Well, it's just a more efficient system.
They read. They have the books they have to read. They have to read, which are, we'll call educational. Quote unquote educational, and then they have the book. They have fun books that they can choose to read,
like Peter Diamandis.
Yeah, exactly, like Peter Diamandis. And my son Daniel read Robert Kiyosaki. They did a version, Rich Dad Poor Dad, but for teens, right? So he read that one, and it was too watered down. So now he's reading the real Rich Dad Poor Dad. So like that's his book he's reading for fun. I didn't tell him he had to read that.
Right.
He goes through my books and picks what he wants. Right.
Do you think longer term it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for them to go through like a lack of the social
interaction is what I'm worried about, right?
Because
the school system's shit, but and we're in a great school, but I'm just saying the way school is operating is terrible.
I agree.
That is the one thing I'm worried about.
It's a complex thing, though. Yeah. How do you educate all these different children from different backgrounds?
Like, it's kind of funny. I don't like yesterday when I was visiting the family. I don't know if I like. Basically, we're walking around, whatever. And we're talking about the renovations and stuff and the costs. And I remember Daniel said something like, "You just said like, yeah, I was like $10K for this." Daniel was like, "Yeah, it's $10K for everything, $10K this, that, or like something like that." And I'm like, like he has some awareness. He's getting older, and he's a smart kid.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it's better to have him not around where they realize like, where they believe 10K is obviously an amount of money, but it's not.
Yeah, see, the problem is they're being desensitized to it. I agree.
Well, where he lives
is that something like
I don't know. It could be bad. Because my Daniel is Daniel thinks 10 grand is nothing.
Yeah.
Not because he has 10 grand, but because he understands that 10 grand is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And at 11 years old, I don't know that.
I feel like it's a good belief.
Right. It is a good belief, but there's a negative to it too. Like I have to warn him not to say things to other people, and I hate to say it because I'm all about being who you are. Mm-hmm. But at 11. Like he said some things to some adults that I'm perfectly fine with, but they're not.
Yeah.
And I have to check myself and go, wait a second. Like I can see how, because I wouldn't say that thing because I would know it would hurt their feelings, right? Or it would hurt their construct. So like I've got to be really careful of that. But yeah, Daniel is, that's I don't know. That's one of those things. Like I don't know.
I think it's fine because he has what we wanted when we were kids. He has the. He has the opportunity to use his mind and
it's going to be it could be a problem.
Well, do you have any?
He can just do that much more because he has the resources.
It's going to go one way or the other depending on the child, really. Yeah. One kid is going to see $10,000. That is very easy, and that'll motivate them to make a lot of money. And then another kid's going to see $10,000 and think that it's an unattainable.
What I teach him and what I teach my kids is that 10 grand is no different than $1, is no different than $1 million. It's all some created perception, right? It's not the thing, right? So like as far as I'm concerned, it's just a couch, and the couch costs whatever the couch costs, right? And it's a designer couch. Well, what does that mean, right? It's something that I find value in. And it's worth what I'm willing to pay for it because of that, right? Like I'm trying not to. I am teaching them about money and how far money goes, but the challenge is that it could jade them in the future. But
I guess, like longer term, like because obviously I don't have kids right now. You guys do, and like for our situation, like we would do, like making the money and doing all this stuff. Like, do you do it in a way for your kids to be able to grow up where you're not just throwing them out there into the world and making them do everything on their own, or is it?
I think the trampoline that we have, right?
Yeah.
It's what's it called? Springless, spring free, or springless, something like that. Highly recommend it, by the way. And it has a net, and now it doesn't have any springs, right? Quick little funny story. My younger brother Chris, a little shout out to Chris. We were jumping, no guards on the springs, and no net. And we were jumping, and he fell in between the springs, like one leg on each side, and his nuts got caught in the spring. And when they come back together, it pinched him. Yeah. So like that memory in my head is burned into my head, and that's why we have no springs for one, and two, we've got the net. But I treat myself like a trampoline for them. Like I'm going to let them jump and let them have fun, and they can still fall and get hurt. But they've got a floor and they've got a wall, right? So like I'm going to provide some type of safety net for them so that they can mess up. Because actually, I hope they fail a lot. Daniel's made mistakes that cost him money. I let him make the decisions. Like when he bought his drone, he had to pay half of it, right? He earns money with his drone. Makes videos, right? They asked me if I wanted insurance on the drone. You asked me. It's not my drone. Like, and at the time he was 10. You ask him, right? And Daniel's. He asked my opinion if he wants, and if he does, I'll let him make the decision, right? Because he gets to deal with the consequence too. Yeah. Right. So like I try to let him make decisions that other people would never let their kids make, so that way maybe he's better prepared. But it could be an issue. But my goal is to provide them a safety net, to provide them. There's some level of nepotism involved, right? But to provide them an opportunity. What is it that you've done? If you're the first person in your family that becomes wealthy, what you've done is let's say that, and we got to put wealth in context, but real wealth, let's say that takes you 20 or 30 years to obtain. What you've done is you've saved your next generation that 20 or 30 years. They don't necessarily have to be generators of wealth. They need to become good stewards of wealth. So how wealthy you get will determine what you need to teach your children, right? And I need my children to be good managers of wealth. And it's less important the wealthier I get, that they learn how to generate wealth. That being said, Daniel's a generator of wealth. I can tell you he's going to be, right? It's there. It's in him. But I think I need to do it. And what I've thought a lot about this. If something happens to me, they don't just get lump sum money. I actually kind of feel like I'm toying with changing some things where they only get money based on what they earn. So like if they earn $50,000 a year, maybe I match it and they get $50,000 a year. It doesn't matter if I'm worth $1 billion, right? Like so now they're forced to go out and produce. So I'm toying with some different things because if I'm here, I hope that I'm here long enough to teach them. My job is just to teach them to survive, right? And I need them to be able to do that if it's like me sleeping on a mattress on the floor, right? While, 3/4 the country away so that I can support my family. Like if that's what it takes, I want them to be able to do that. If it's a life of luxury, that's fine too, but they need to be able to survive. So that's the challenge. Am I doing it the way I want to the level I should? I don't know. Time will tell. My other sons, I think Cam is going to be, he's so young, but I think he's going to be fine. Sebastian's my curveball. We'll see. And but I'll make sure that I plan appropriately for him so that he can, because the thing is for him is whatever passion he wants to pursue, I want him to be able to do that. But I don't know. I think the other thing by a parent becoming wealthy, what you may be able to give your children are choices. And so if my choice was to pursue wealth, I accomplished that. But maybe one of my sons wants to be a pianist or a ballerina or a whatever, right? Insert X. I just want to be able to be in a position that I can help them chase their dreams. And their dream is not, like if you go to college to become a teacher, right, from a financial perspective, I can argue against that. But from a quality of life perspective, if that was your passion, there's no amount of money that changes that. That's why we have teachers that are underpaid throughout the United States, right? Like they didn't do it because of the money. Same thing with like police officers. Same thing with military, right? Like I mean, they're not there because of the money. So like, I want to be able to have that foundation where my kids can pursue that passion, even if it's not the pursuit of money. Right? Does that help?
No, that makes sense. Yeah. You want to be able to fuel. If it's whatever something that doesn't, like whatever we were talking about earlier, if it's something that doesn't make them money or enough money to live how they should, then can just fuel their passion.
I know with Isla, my daughter, she's 5 and she's very creative. She's highly intelligent, like your kids. Yeah. And it's cool to see her, be able to do, like if she wants to do something creative, she can just do it. Like she's playing the drums now. She's playing the djembe drum, and she takes drum lessons, and she's doing really well with it. And she enjoys reading. She's always had any book she wants since she was very young. She loves to paint and draw and stuff. So she has plenty of art supplies to do all the painting and drawing she could ever want to do. And those things are important. You know, I wish societally all children had those access to those types of things, and our school system was set up more to encourage children to do the things that they are more passionate about or more drawn to, because those are typically things that'll be strengths when they get older. And I feel like the kids that don't have those opportunities, they miss a lot. You know, like me or you even. Yep. You know, if we had those opportunities when we were little, as long as we had good guidance and direction, I'm sure we would have accomplished way more than we have. But you know, as entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers. I wanted to ask you too, what's the biggest problem you've faced in business at a young age, and what's or the biggest loss that you've experienced, and how did you overcome it?
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind was like the first time I lost a lot of money. And a big lesson was, it was at the time on when I was first getting on Instagram, 15 years old, whatever. I probably had maybe around $2,000 saved up or something like that. Or no, I was still at the other school, so I was in middle school at this time, and I was like, this guy was like gonna sell me his Instagram account, this themed account. Like I was looking at the engagement and everything. I was like, it was a good account. And basically the dude just scammed me and stole $1,000. And I had a student PayPal account under my dad at the time. And I remember I sent this guy the money, and I was just waiting after school to get picked up. And I was like, how am I gonna do I tell my dad? Do I not? You just see all of my money gone. What's gonna happen? And that was a first big shock. I never even got the money back or anything. It was
tough lesson.
Tough lesson for me, but it taught me a lot of, just watch out for myself some more. Right. I don't know. It's I was vulnerable as a kid. Someone took advantage of me. I was like, that's life. Even on social media and stuff, that's life. It's easier for people to do that on social media.
Makes your skin a little thicker.
Yeah.
What's that? Remember though that I was saying, the man with money exchanges some of the money for the man with wisdom. Right. Yeah. So as you go through life, you gave him some money, you learned a tough lesson, you got wisdom from that experience. You paid an expensive lesson, but it was worth it.
When you have the money and the wisdom, that's when you're.
Yeah, you got to get. That's the end of the road, right? Hopefully. Yeah. That's awesome.
And then moving forward, there's been a lot of big lessons, little lessons throughout the past couple of years. I would say into my real journey has been 18, 19, 20. This is my 5th year.
It's early because you're still counting on one hand, by the way.
But there's been expensive things, more personal things. I think the biggest lessons have come more just growing personally and then financially. Just not. It's so easy to spend money when you have you just keep money in the bank account. It just dwindles down and it goes away. Putting in the systems to just have money always going other places, so I don't have as much. And
reinvesting.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, if you had one piece of advice for someone who is just starting on the journey of being an entrepreneur and perhaps is 21 and still a baby, what's the best piece of advice you could give somebody who's looking to get into the lifestyle that you're in right now?
This almost even answers the question that you had asked when I think about it. When I look back over everything I've done, I would say could be everything. I could have been way more successful sticking with, let's say, the first e-commerce business I started.
Right.
If I stuck with that and just kept making that work instead of, I feel like I've stunted my growth starting something and then it kind of dies off. And then I'm like, okay, I know how to get from A to B, but not the next level. So then I'll just stop that and go do another thing, A to B, compared to just taking that thing and really just pushing through that next level. So, if I could tell myself something when I was first starting out, is just, whatever you're doing now, stick with it and make it work. If you do something long enough, you're going to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And, don't be afraid to seek advice from other people that have done what you've done.
Avoid distractions. Yeah,
distractions can be good.
It's kind of
he's 21. He's allowed to have some distractions.
Well, as far as distractions of sometimes when you're doing well at something, it can be, it's like a fear thing sets in and a doubt, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should do this instead. But no, you should keep seeing that thing through. Mm-hmm. And then once you reach a certain level, you can always add things to to the portfolio. But anyway, man, keep doing what you're doing. You're obviously doing it right, and you're way ahead of the game. So keep it up, man.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Really impressive.
If we can do it again, we need to dive into all his new ventures.
We'll see how this this episode does. We'll do a recoup. It's funny. I've seen you guys so much over the last since you guys even started this podcast, and now we're finally doing one together.
Yeah, it's cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, thanks for coming on, man.
It's been fun. Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Turn on those notifications.